Bright Suns, everybody. As you know, we are here today discussing a new and exciting thing that's happening this weekend, which is the Meta Quest experience featuring Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. That is starting this Sunday, November 21st at Downtown Disney. And it is a very cool thing, but it is my extraordinary great pleasure and delight to be here on Life Day Eve, no less, with two of the creators of this really astonishing and delightful piece of entertainment. I am here with Alyssa Finley, producer on the game, and of course, Bobby Moynihan, voice actor extraordinaire, in addition to being a comedian who brings the completely fabulous Seezelslak to life. So thank you both for being here with us today. Alyssa, will you talk a little bit about this preview experience that is happening starting this weekend at Downtown Disney? Like, what can fans expect to do and see?
Well, basically, it's a chunk taken directly from the game, and it is the moment from when you set foot in Seezelslak's Cantina, and he is having a discussion, a little bit of discourse with Porgy, I think, and you come in and you meet Mubo. You get a sense of the challenges before you outside in the wilds, and you can spend some time. You can either spend some time in the cantina playing with the jukebox, playing with the chromarimba, playing with space darts, or you can head out the door and go to Three Suns Overlook and head out into the wilds and fight the Guavian Death Gang a little bit and get a sense of the sort of more action-oriented side of the game. So it's taken directly out of the experience. It'll give you a really good example of a notion of the breadth of the experience, and it's super fun. And you get to hang out with Seezelslak, so all win.
I mean, yes, that should be on everyone's bucket list. Seezelslak drink times. I have to tell you, when Tales from the Galaxy's Edge first got announced, I, who have Batuu rabies, I absolutely can't get enough of it, thought like, oh, this will be great. This is going to be an experience for me to kind of tide myself over when I'm home in between visits to Galaxy's Edge. And it does do that, but it turned out it was so much more. And that was so thrilling to discover. So first, I want to start by asking Alyssa, when you started with this idea that you are going to expand this world that exists in the real world in the Disney parks into a virtual reality game space, how do you decide what new parts of a planet that already has its own lore that you're going to develop?
Well, I think the biggest thing we wanted to do was just take the story that starts in the parks and make it bigger, not tell the same story, because people have a chance to see that story already by going, and that's amazing. But to try to say, well, what can you, like, how do we fit in? How does the ship that the Cantina lives in, the final, where is that parked in the parks, and how does that fit into what's there? And then how does that connect to everything that you can see and do in the park? And what was really important to us is that you got to explore. We were super interested in the idea of going way back in time in Batuu and exploring some of the lost Jedi lore and a temple that might have existed there in the deep past of Batuu. And we also wanted to explore the present. What's it like there? What is walking around on this, in the wilds like? And I think the game that we shipped is a really good balance. The experience allows you to see Black Spire Outpost, but go to places way beyond the expanses of the park.
And I'm glad that you mentioned some of those places, because one of the things that I love the most is that you still are seeing Black Spire that you have visited, but in very different ways and from very different angles. There's like a gasp-worthy moment when you realize you can look out over the Falcon across to Docking Bay, and you just see Black Spire Outpost from a different point of view than you've ever gotten to see before. And of course, those vistas of the wilds are like, they do stuff to your heart if you're really like into the lore of it. And so did you have any like guardrails? Were there any restrictions of what you could or couldn't show, or anything that people were like, we haven't gotten to do this, please do this?
I think it was more about making sure it all fit together properly. Like, we did have, one of the things that our art director did was work really closely with WDI to make sure that the place where we parked the final was a place that has that space is a it could totally be there. Now that's a ship, so it can fly away. That's why it's not there when somebody comes and visits the park today. But that's a legitimate parking spot where it could be. And so we just wanted to make sure that all the angles and all of the views were accurate to what it would would really be like if it were true, because it is.
Oh, it's so spectacular. Bobby, you are a Star Wars person. You're my people. And you're a little bit, a skosh. And you're also a Disney Parks fan. So I'm wondering.
Your robots just started moving behind you for
Did
real.
they?
Both of them just started moving. Please tell me somebody saw that. It was a ghost.
You might have a gas leak at your house. I'm not sure. They shouldn't be. They're all asleep. They're all turned off. But knowing that you do love Star Wars and the park so much, what was it like getting to develop this character who is so central to the entire experience?
I mean, as a fan, it's absolutely insane. It's a blast. It was actually really fun. I've gotten to do a couple Star Wars things, but this was pretty singular to itself. Being a fan of Galaxy's Edge, I got to go there before it was opened when they were still building it. I got to go right after. I was there the day it opened. I've been there a bunch, and I feel very connected to that place. So to be asked to be involved with this game was like a no-brainer, but it's also like it has enhanced my experience at the park. I just went there recently to shoot something for Disney Plus about this game, and just standing there at sunrise at 6 in the morning, standing there at sunrise in an empty Galaxy's Edge, going like, that's where my cantina is, and I have Alyssa to thank for that. And it was a really special, wonderful moment, especially for a fan. But I think that's what the game is too. Like I got to play Vader Immortal at Star Wars Celebration and like cut to this panel. I'm here now because of it. It was so fun. I was completely immersed in that game. I remember Darth Vader walking up to me and me being like, "Oh no!" And like,
yeah, it's such a good moment.
It was really great, and it's nice. And I just said earlier to you guys, it's crazy to have the same feeling in my garage at 1:30 in the morning with myself, but the complete opposite, where I'm like, I am not afraid of this guy at all. He's only a harm to himself.
I do want to talk more about Seezelslak, but first I also want to mention that there are some characters and personalities that appear in this experience that we know of if we have been to Black Spire Outpost. We see Doc Ondar, but he's not very chatty, despite the fact that I ask him 22 questions every time I'm there. And we know about Mubo, but we never even get to lay eyes on him. So how did you, Alyssa, and the team decide which characters were going to get to be part of this story and enhance this entire like new way to experience Batuu?
Well, it was very much trying to continue the story that starts in the parks. And I would say that Seezelslak and especially Bobby's contributions to making Seezelslak as welcoming of a guy as he is really the bridge to that, where he can introduce you to Mubo directly. He's got an in with Doc that will allow, Doc asks him who to trust, and Seezelslak says maybe you. But a lot of it was really just thinking about who do we have, like who are these characters that you're experiencing and how can we expand that story. But we also wanted to make sure there were new characters. I mean, not just Seezelslak, but other folks that you don't have preconceived notions about, so that you can have those moments of Star Wars exploration and wonder and discovery along the way.
And I'm glad you mentioned new characters, because that way I can segue right back to talking to Bobby about Seezelslak. As you said, you've done other voice characters in Star Wars. I have to give a shout out to Orca, because I love a Shadra fan. And could not be more endearing and beloved from Star Wars Resistance. But as you said, you can actually walk up to Seezelslak in VR. You can look at his tattoos up close. I hope you have backstory on when and where he got all of those. What is that?
Headcanon, yeah.
Tell me everything. What is that like for you? And how is it to be able to, like you said, you're talking to yourself in your garage at 1:30 in the morning?
Yeah, I bring that up because it was a real thing. I really had a moment where I went like, wow, like this has been quite a journey. This my Star Wars journey of just being a fan and then being lucky enough to get to be involved, and starting the pandemic literally in that closet with rubber bands in my beard and as they were doing like facial capture from the phone, like, and wishing that I could have done like the motion capture for it, but like everyone was so wonderful, the whole experience, but everything was amazing. But cut to that moment at 1:30 in the morning in my garage where I'm standing there and Seezelslak is talking. I was like overplaying the jukebox, like just playing the jukebox, and all of a sudden I hear my voice go, "Hey, hey, oh, wait, over here!" And I like turned to myself, and I was like, "What is happening?" Like it was awesome. It was really fun. Like it's a really fun experience.
May or may not lead to a moment in therapy that could be very exciting to
Yeah,
explain.
yeah.
I have to tell you, I'm very, very concerned about the porg that goes from being considered a menace to being a customer, and you kind of love him.
A Porgy, that's my guy.
You know what happened to him? Is he okay? Are you guys pals now?
He's right here. He's doing just fine.
This is very good to know.
I love my Porgy.
Oh, the best. I
Maybe
mean,
all your porgies.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
That was fun too. Like how like they being a fan of Star Wars, they let me like have fun with that. Like a lot of those little fun things were improvised, and I believe even that thing with the Porg, like it was it's fun, and it's also fun because I forgot a lot of it because you're doing it on the fly, and then all of a sudden you in the middle of this game. Yeah, fascinating experience.
I mean, that's been one of the really magical things about this experience, creating it, is I've worked on games where we had a script and we implemented the script before, but this was a situation where I'd read the script and then I'd see the scene come in and be like, what, we did that. And I think that's so much a testament to Bobby really living in this character and bringing him to life for us.
It was fun. The team was so wonderful with allowing me to do that and making it very easy to live in that world.
So not only are you getting to play in Star Wars, but you're really imprinting it in a huge way. So
that's a crazy sentence, and it makes me really happy.
Yeah, drink that in. And it's, again, from the fan perspective, Seezelslak is so damn lovable. Like, I want to have him over to my lounge in my house and trade drink recipes and hang out.
I think we can change that. We need to. I will get, if you build a suit, I will get in it and wear it as
okay, don't dangle that carrot, dude. I don't think you understand that I do make costumes, so you have just put yourself in such jeopardy.
We'll exchange numbers after.
It's on. It's so on. Yeah. But then you will have to come to my house and mix drinks, and just that's the deal. One of the big surprises from the fan perspective in Tales from Galaxy's Edge is that this is a Star Wars story, but it's nothing we've ever seen before, even if we spent a ton of time on Batuu. And it puts you, the fan, right in the middle of that story, and you are the impetus for so much that goes on. But it also does tie into those bigger elements of the story. There are things you recognize happening and you realize cause and effect are part of this game that don't maybe necessarily happen within the game, but are part of those things you already know and love. To me, that was a beautiful surprise, but I suspect when you're making a project like this, there are a lot of other surprises that pop up along the way from your end, and I would love to hear what some of those are.
Well, I can say that I think the reason for what you said is because the people who work on this game love Star Wars so much. And so they are thinking about the interconnections. They are thinking about the story. And I think people who work on this franchise love it so much. And that's one of the reasons that, I mean, we're just really lucky. So there's that. I'm just gonna take a moment of feeling lucky. One of the things that actually I will say I was not expecting going into working on Tales was, we always knew, and we knew from releasing the first section of it, that that Seezelslak was going to tell stories in his bar, and he was going to transport you to other places. And so the first story that we took you to was to a lost Jedi temple on Batuu, and you got to be a Jedi, which was amazing, and you got to use the Force. And I was like, this is core Star Wars fantasy for me. I get this. The one that blindsided me was when it was the second tale, where you got to be inside the head of an assassin droid of IG-88. And like, that had not occurred to me. I had not thought about like, how what is it? What's that like? Like, what is the interface? And I would say that the designer who worked on that and all the team who worked on that, the designer, the UI designer, they had so much fun bringing that perspective to life in a way that I never, like, I had just not had the capacity to start imagining that until I played the IG-88 tale. And you hear the voice come up and you see like sarcasm detected, and you're like, oh. So I will say that was a moment of absolute delight brought to you by the minds of people who deeply love the franchise and want to look at it from every possible angle.
Bobby, were there surprises for you?
Yeah, it's also I agree in the sense of like I remember when I started playing, it was like I spent way too much time in the cantina because it was me and I wanted to stay there and I couldn't believe it. But how like it feels like Tales has its own characters. There's that section, then there's like the legacy characters, and when they show up, your mind is blown. And then like seeing like kind of like New Republic stuff, or just seeing like all these different kinds. The variety was amazing. I loved Vader Immortal, but like I couldn't believe how many different types of things you can do in this game, and like IG-88 and all that stuff. Like just it seems much more vast. It branches out so much more. That made me really happy about this one.
I love it. It's so good. As another surprise that I loved, who decided that Ronto Wraps and the Sporks were going to end up in the expansion?
Well, so the Ronto Wraps came from the art team. I actually believe that one day, like I think we were trying really hard to do a lot more storytelling of like time and place in the second installment, and one of the artists I remember seeing a post one day on Slack saying, okay, I made a Ronto Wrap, now somebody put it in the game. The Sporks we have to blame Jose for. It is, I think that we had, like since some of the folks from our team were able to go to Galaxy's Edge in the early days when there were Sporks, and then for a while there weren't Sporks, and that was because people were making the Sporks and selling them. And so Jose, in his wild fever dreams of thinking about why things happen the way they do, decided that clearly the reason that the Sporks were being taken was because there's someone who's offering some money in the black market, and it happens to be Mubo. So you can salvage those Sporks for a rather lucrative rate in Mubo's workshop. And I blame Jose for that. Our art director made it happen, leaned in hard, like, the art team again, but really Jose's fever dream.
I love it.
That is truly, I did not know that. That's truly the greatest. Also, I have a confession to make. This is not a joke. I am 100% not kidding. 90% of my cutlery and plate are from Galaxy's Edge.
I think that's 100% valid. Also, you might be in a little trouble, but listen.
I made them myself from Seezelslak.
Everybody be cool.
From my ship.
One of the other really beautiful things about this experience is that for people like me who are like hardcore Star Wars rabid folks who, read all the stuff in the comics and of course the TV and the film, like there are so many beautiful Easter eggs and little call outs that we catch. But I feel like even for someone who's not steeped in lore from the galaxy far, far away, can still have an amazing time, even if they know just like a surface checklist of things about Star Wars. If they know one Star Wars, they'll be fine. But I'm wondering, Alyssa, what is that like for you guys to develop and really create that balance? Because it is a delicate path to try to find a way that everybody can engage with it and still come away feeling like they really had an amazing time.
From my point of view, it's just that the stories at their heart are about good people trying to navigate difficult situations. And we don't get, I think as long as we don't get too complicated, and as long as we, we don't get caught up in the lore and why a spork should be worth this much unless you really want to know. But what we care about is making the player feel like an unlikely hero who has a chance to change the world with their actions. And I think that is such a foundational premise of the Star Wars franchise that if you are true to that, then everything that you just said happens.
That was beautiful.
It is beautiful. That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's why this story that came out in the 70s has become a juggernaut of modern mythology, right? Like it's because we all connect to those principles. I also want to ask you a little bit, Alyssa, about the music in the game. So Bear McCreary and a few other people worked on the score for this VR experience. Will you talk about how scoring for something like this is a little bit different than if they were scoring for film or TV or even a traditional video game?
I think the biggest challenge, I can't even imagine trying to take this on, is that the player does what the player wants to do. And it's our job to react to that instead of trying to cause a reaction in the player. And it's a little bit of both. And those guys are, like both Bear McCreary and Joe Trapanese, that just absolutely brilliant at doing this, at being able to sort of balance between like, how do I want you to feel? And how do I give you the space to feel it on your own time? So we would be taking videos. I mean, we had production teams and QA folks taking videos like weekly of the latest state of gameplay so that we could send those over and be like, here's what it looks like when one person plays this, to give them an idea of like what items remain the same, like what it's sort of a fixed series of events that generally always happens in the same sequence, and where the player has a chance to spread out and, fight here or sneak there or do what they, do a little bit more of what they want to do, and that the game needs to react to them. And then those brilliant geniuses with the giant throbbing brains of music turned that into themes and our music director Kevin Boland got in there and helped put it together and helped assemble the thing into the seamless sounding soundtrack that is made out of magic wishes and good feelings.
I'm sure they teach magic wishes in music school, and it's a very hard course. It's an advanced level. I want to know from the two of you what your favorite part of the experience. If you can divorce yourself from your roles in actually creating it, when you're in that VR experience, what's the one little thing that you see and you go?
So for me, the magical moment is when you first walk into Seezelslak's Cantina, and it's for a minute you think it's empty, and that it's not, and you realize that you are in a world with characters who are looking at you and talking to you and treating you like you are 100% physically there, and all of a sudden you're in a Star Wars story, like really in, like all in. And for me, that is the absolute magical moment of all time. So basically, Bobby, it's you. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say you kind of stole mine, but not really.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Standing at that window in the cantina for me, and just looking out over the real Galaxy's Edge / video Galaxy's Edge, that the first time that really got me, because that's and then doing the opposite of standing in the park and looking up there and wishing that that ship would be there one day. Hint, hint, Disney, come on. No. Seezelslak could have a Disney Plus series, I think.
Yes. I would want to, especially if it's like an Odd Couple-y style thing with him and the Porg just kind of kicking around.
I agree.
Fighting over leaving nest materials everywhere. I mean, I think we answered this, but you're officially making the request that Disney add Seezelslaks into a physically visitable space on both Batuu East and West.
A pop-up food truck, maybe the final just parks right next to the Falcon every once a year at Christmas time. Pick up some extra cash for presents for Life Day. Well, I'd be very down. Seezelslak Black Series figure, anything at this point.
Yes.
I beg for it all. But yeah, that part of the game for me also just it felt much more free. Just kind of like you can. I want to take my time. I want to be immersed in that world, and it really allows you to do that. Vader felt like, I got to get out of here before this guy kills me.
Right. Right. There, you definitely do get a little more time to just look around.
This one's less tense. Yeah.
Breathe it in. Obviously, we have already discussed that Bobby wants Seezelslak's Cantina to be installed at Galaxy's Edge. Alyssa, you must have a favorite part of the experience that you wish would be installed at Galaxy's Edge. And maybe it's the same thing, but is it?
I mean, I will confess that my absolute favorite part of the story that I wish I could be transported to is the Jedi training that happens, where you go. It's actually it's not on Batuu at all. I'm sorry to say, so I've sort of ruined your question here, but what I love about that is just this real visceral experience of the other side of being a Jedi, not just using lightsabers, but what does it mean to have balance? What does it mean to what does it mean to really try to embody Jedi principles in a difficult situation? And that's my personal favorite part. And if I could be transported anywhere, I would just sit around and balance rocks all day. It's true. Devium stones and me. That's how it would be.
This is for both of you because there are plenty of people who still have not had the delight and joy of experiencing VR and certainly experiencing Star Wars in VR. So what are each of you most excited to have new people see?
I mean, the experience for me was physically standing in it. People like seen. I want people to see, or people to have that feeling of like Darth Vader is tall and he is way too close to me and I feel uncomfortable. And it's not real. It's fun and it's wonderful. But like Seezelslak, that whole thing, I think that I can't wait for people to see how immersed in the world they can actually get to run around in it. That's the greatest.
Yeah, and I think some of the things that I love about the cantina are that you're not like, look, if you want to have a traditional video game experience where you go out and you are in a hostile situation and you are defending yourself with amazing blasters, we've got that covered. I confess that I like to stand in the cantina and play space darts. I like to play the Krobarimba. Like, there's stuff to do that is quiet and that just feels like I get to be in this world, and I get to hear, Seezelslak over in the corner ruminating about Padme's costume wardrobe assistant's gossip, and just I just feel like I'm there. And to me, that feeling is not something that I got from other types of media. It's when you're in that headset, you're in that world.
Thank you both so much for spending this time with me. What an absolute delight and spoiled child experience for me.
It's such a pleasure, Holly.
Thanks so much for this has been.
And thank you, Alyssa, for making this game always.
Yeah.
It's the team, all the team. All I do is just wrangle them, and then they do the thing. So
once again, the Meta Quest experience is featuring Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge starts this Sunday. It is November 21st at Downtown Disney in Anaheim. Thank you everyone for joining us. Till the Spires.
Till the Spires.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.